If you're using the free version of GitLab.com, we have access to 400 compute minutes per month. And if we need more compute minutes, we need to purchase an add-on about $10 for 1000 compute minutes. And the other option is that we host our own GitLab Runner. We can create a GitLab Runner and connect it to our service. So in this case, we have almost much more compute minutes for running our jobs. Or if you're using the self-managed or self-hosted version of the GitLab, it is very recommended and very useful if we add our own GitLab Runner and connect it to our service. And the process is not complicated. And in this video, we take a look how we can create a dedicated GitLab Runner for our service. To do so, we have to head over to one of our projects. Suppose that I'm in my project, and what we need to do is head over to settings CI/CD, and under this menu we have to navigate to the runner. And because I'm using the GitLab cloud version, there are many shared GitLab runners that are available here. But if I've used my quota, which is about 400 minutes, I no longer can use the runners here. What I need to do here is adding new project runner, specifying some tags for the runner, the tags indicating that which projects can access to this runner. By specifying the tags, we specify that the projects with these tags can access to the runner. I personally prefer to use the shared or Docker. Just feel free to define your own tags. And also, I prefer to check this option as well to run the projects even without any tags. I'm able to run those projects as well. And also, we can define a maximum job timeout. This is the maximum amount of time that each job can be executed using this runner. And I prefer to enter 900 or about 15 minutes for which is the maximum amount of seconds that the job can be running. So I hit the create runner, and there are some options here that we can specify and configure our GitLab Runner. What we need to do here is heading over to our cloud provider. Just choose your own preferred cloud provider, and just what we need to do is creating a new virtual private service for our GitLab Runner service. It doesn't matter if it's AWS, Azure, Linux, or DigitalOcean, Hessner, whatever you like. For demonstration, I use the one of the providers with the name Hessner. What I need to do is after creating the project or creating the admin console on the Hessner, I head over to the service part and create a new server. And all I need to do is select the regional location for my service. I choose the Europe, it doesn't matter. And also I have to choose the operating system. The operating system that I prefer is the Linux Ubuntu. And on the registration instruction for the runner, we need to choose what operating system we are going to choose. So we choose the Linux here and also here. And also for amount of the resources, I choose the shared CPU, which is enough for general purposes. And I choose two virtual CPUs and 4 gigabyte of RAM and 40 gigabytes of disk space, which is enough for general purposes. But based on your amount of jobs and computation power that you need, you can choose the amount of resources that you need. And this service cost me about $5 or 3.3 euro. And the architecture here is Intel and AMD, or AMD 64. And all I need to do is scrolling down. If I prefer, I can define a name here. It doesn't matter at the moment. I just hit to create a new virtual private server. And what I need to do here is just waiting for the server to be created. I copy the IP address and I switch to my terminal. I type in my IP address here and hit enter to connect to my virtual private server. The first step is updating the packages and repositories on the virtual private server. All I need to do is type in a apt update to update all of them. And the second step is installing the GitLab Runner on the server. But before this step, we need to install the Docker engine on the VPS as well. So there is a command that I can use to install the Docker engine as well. I switch to my terminal and let's paste the command for installing the Docker. I will pause the video to install the Docker. When the Docker was finished, we will come back to continue. All right, the Docker is installed. To test if it is installed successfully, I type in Docker version and version 28 is installed. Okay, the second step is installing the GitLab Runner. And what we need to do here is choosing the correct architecture. As I mentioned before, the architecture is AMD 64. And what I need to do here is copying the command for installing the GitLab Runner and pasting the command and waiting for the GitLab Runner to be installed. And the next step is registering our GitLab Runner. By running this command, what the command do is sending a post request to our service, which is gitlab.com, and ask for a registration. And the service already generated an authentication token for us. So the service is expecting this token to be sent by GitLab Runner. So in this case, the service can detect the GitLab Runner service successfully and the process of registration can be done. And just keep in mind that previously in version 16 of the GitLab, the process of registration is completely changed. Previously was the process was based on the registration token and now it's based on the authentication token. But it doesn't matter if you're not migrating to a new version of GitLab. So let's switch back to our virtual private server. So the GitLab Runner is installed successfully. All I need to do is registering our GitLab Runner. The first step is asking us the couple of questions. The first one is what is your instance URL? Because we are using the cloud version of GitLab, the URL is specified here and it is gitlab.com. If you're using the self-hosted version, you need to specify the custom domain or URL of your self-hosted version. So the address is set by default. All I need to do is just hitting the enter, and now I need to provide a name or identifier. For my runner, I call it runner1, and the next step is choosing the executor. It's very important. If we check the step 2, there is a documentation here. If I open the documentation, we have different type of executor: SSH, Shell, Docker, Kubernetes, and the other types. I personally prefer the Docker executor, and it's highly recommended because the jobs will be run in the isolated containers, and the scripts that we are running on our GitLab Runner are all isolated and doesn't access to the host system. This is really useful for security reasons, and also extra packages are not created on our GitLab Runner. So I highly recommend to use the Docker executor for this purpose. So let's head over to the terminal, and I will type in the Docker for the executor. And finally ask us to specify the base Docker image that you want to use on your GitLab Runner. By default, the GitLab Runner use the Ruby 2.7, but what I personally use and I highly recommend is using an distribution of Linux like the Ubuntu or Alpine. And I recommend you to use the Alpine because Alpine is very lightweight and fast to load a Docker image for testing purposes or testing our jobs. So I type in the Alpine and I hit enter. As soon as I hit the enter, I can see that the message appear here indicating that our GitLab runner is installed and registered successfully. That's great. Let's see the view runners, but before that we can run the final optional step, that is running the GitLab runner. And let's see the view runners. And in the view runners, I can see a new runner is created and appeared in the project runners. So I can confidently now switch off the shared runners, and I ask the GitLab no longer use the shared runners, and I can now use our exclusive runner for running our jobs. So as soon as I create a new pipeline, I do some changes on the repository, the pipeline and jobs will be executed automatically, and the computation will be handled by the our exclusive GitLab runner. So overall, the uh, amount of resources that we now access is completely customizable. We can also rescale our service if we need more resources. We can simply choose more resources here and hit the rescale button. Before that, we need to switch off the service and choose the rescale, and we can scale our service vertically, or we can add more GitLab runner instances for adding more computation power for running our jobs and pipeline. So that's it. Hope you liked the video and see you in the next video.